Hey guys, this is Jacob Hart with High Point Land Company. We get asked all the time, what's the best way to sell farmland? We have clients that inherit land from an estate, folks that bought farmland a long time ago and it's appreciated in value and now they're looking for retirement, or folks are looking to consolidate and bring a farm closer to other farms that they operate. There's many ways to sell farmland, but we get asked all the time what the best way to sell farmland is. And the answer to that is obviously it depends. We have about 7 ways that we sell farmland in the Midwest, and that might be an auction, it might be a traditional listing, a sealed bid, a one-chance sealed bid, an online timed auction, a listing, an off-market listing. We have all these different ways to sell farmland, and it really depends on the property, the neighborhood, the competition in the neighborhood, who our buyers are, how motivated the sellers are on a timeline. If the seller wants to sell the property in 30 days and be done with it and move on, versus if they have a year to sell the property, what's the best way to sell farmland? So we wanted to put together a little video on a few things that you can research to get the best price or the best buyer for your property. There's a lot of times where folks are interested in the right buyer more than the right price, and they say, you know, I don't want an investor to purchase my property, I want a beginning farmer to purchase it. And structuring a deal like that might have some opportunities for the beginning farmer to be the best price and have a win-win for all parties with beginning farmer tax credits and different opportunities that the USDA might provide. So there's a lot of ways to sell high quality farmland, but the reality is you get one chance to do it right. And a lot of times the family has owned the asset for a very long time, 100 years plus on a regular basis. You get one chance to expose that property to the market, and putting a price tag on that farm may or may not be the way to go about that. So the first thing you want to do is look at the farm and do any kind of research you have. There's usually a farm file that has tile maps, soil maps, yield history, fertility data, information from its past. Who the tenant is there a lease on the property? There's a bunch of information, any amount of information that you can find about the property, you want to gather that. Second in line, you want to see what the ownership structure is. Is it something where you own it yourself, you've inherited that property? Is there other heirs or trustees to the estate or to the trust? Do you own that property with your spouse? Is there any liens or encumbrances or easements or anything along those lines that are from the past that should be brought to the attention of a buyer? So you want to gather all the documentation you can, as well as the abstract if that pertains to your property in the states where abstracts are still a thing. The next in line is you want to call some professionals and say, hey, I have a farm that I'm interested in potentially selling. Can you tell me a little bit more about the price and about the best way to sell that property? And ask a lot of questions. Folks all the time say, hey, we have a family member or a tenant that is interested in purchasing the property. I don't know if the answer is every farm we've ever sold, but I'm going to say it's the vast majority of the farms that we've ever sold, hundreds of them a year for a decade plus. The tenant or a family member is always interested in the farm, and it makes sense because it's part of their business model to farm that land, be a tenant on that property, operate that property, and the family always says, you know, they've taken really good care of the land. In agricultural real estate, it is in the tenant's best interest to take care of the land because it improves the yield. So it's improving their business and their cash flow bottom line to take good care of the land. If you have a long-term relationship with that tenant and you want to work out a fair market price, it's still a really good idea to get an appraisal on the property or get a fair market value broker price opinion from a qualified real estate agent. We see all the time also on the topic of a qualified real estate agent. If you were to give me a call or one of our agents and say, hey, I have a house in town or I have a hotel or a commercial building, I want a price on that, we probably wouldn't be the best resource for that. Same with land. If you call a residential agent or a commercial real estate agent or somebody that knows nothing at all about farmland, hasn't ever sold it, hasn't ever owned it, knows nothing about the programs, they are more than likely going to look at a resource like the MLS or the county averages to establish the price of your farmland. And in every county, the properties have a huge range. I mean, you're talking thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars per acre. difference in farmland across a single county in the Midwest. You might have high quality, you might have floodplain, you might have tile, you might have really competitive neighborhoods, neighborhoods where there's manure application opportunities from drag lines that make the farming much more efficient. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and getting a professional opinion on that. Folks are consistently concerned about the commission that they would pay on a transaction to a qualified real estate agent, and the reality is a great real estate agent does not save you money. They will make you money. They will charge you money in commission, and if they're the qualified best resource for that, they should make you a substantial amount more, whether they sell the property for you or you have the buyer via a tenant or a family member or any of that. If they get that individual to pay fair market value for you and your family's investment, now you have a win-win where you have the buyer, you were able to avoid some fees or reduce some fees there, and sell it to those individuals for fair market price if that is important to you. After you've gathered all the information, you've asked some professionals about their opinion on the topic, you want to establish a price that you're going to sell the property for, and what the best way that you've decided to sell the property is out of how the market achieves the best price for the property. And you also want to, at that point, talk to some folks like your tax accountant, your financial advisor, your banker, and decide what you're going to do with the money before the sale, and maybe even before you decide to sell it. Maybe the best option is to keep the farm and continue to rent it out and have a farm manager provide cash flow to you and your family or the heirs of an estate for generations to come. That might be a great option, but if you're going to sell the farm and then pay a lot of money in capital gains tax, that you don't want to be surprised upon closing or upon tax time in the next year. The last one is define the goal. Define the goal for the farmland sale. What are you or the other heirs or the other folks that are involved in the sale going to do with the money? And what is the timeline and expectation of that sale? Is the market up or down? And what is our goal at the end of the day for selling that farmland and moving on to the next goal of that financial investment? Because when you look at farmland, just think about it this way. It's just like a stock portfolio, commercial land or commercial real estate investment, a rental property. A farm is viewed a little bit different many times by a family because they've had blood, sweat, and tears into that awesome property that they have owned for a very long time. It is a financial investment, just like selling a stock or a bond or a mutual fund or a residential or commercial property. A farm is viewed as a real estate investment. So you get one chance to sell it and sell it right, and to be smart about the taxes and the money on that topic. And if you go about it right, you'll enjoy a lot of financial opportunities that a lot of folks have had in farmland over the course of their lives.